And so we are here today because we were intrigued by solidarity. And I think in the past few years, we have recognized that there has been an increase in anti-Asian violence and the exposure and of police brutality against African-American and Black communities, and so much more. And so our lives are impacted every day, from fear to the grief of mourning our fellow community members. And as young people, we hold a ton of power to influence change and inspire solidarity. And so we are here today to meet and build relationships with Black and Asian American students and really anybody of all backgrounds. And we have a responsibility to undo the legacies of America's past and build a better future for us all, one that is just and joyful for all, where we can love and we can live and just exist as we are. And so during the session, we'll be eating and participating in activities and really hearing from community leaders. This event will allow us to intentionally start this conversation of solidarity and how do we get there post-pandemic. And so before we go any further, I'd like to do further introductions. I am Laichia Vang. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a current first year here at the U, and I'm studying political science, sociology, and racial justice and urban schooling. I'll pass it off.
Hi, I'm Mansee. I am a junior right now. Oh, she, they pronouns. I'm a junior studying philosophy.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a second year here at the U and I'm double majoring in poli-sci and history.
Amazing. And so behind us is pretty much everything we're going to present to y'all. If you can grab your devices right now and just scan the QR code for our evaluation form. This will be turned in at the end, so do not worry about it. But we do know that maybe you need to leave early, and so just want to make sure that your voices and your feedback is heard whenever you leave. All right, sounds good. We're gonna move on to our agenda.
So after the welcoming, we'll have some performances today and some speakers come on and talk about their experiences in the community. And then we'll do a little card activity where we'll get to know each other a little bit more. And then, we'll just have like free time to play games and conversation and stuff, along with grabbing more food. And then we'll conduct a workshop on solidarity and building solidarity. And then there's a little post-it that says, what does solidarity look like? Feel free at any point to write down your thoughts with the sticky note or just like put your thoughts up there, drawings, whatever you want. And we'll look at it at the end. And yeah, we'll have some time to play more games and just talk, and then we'll close.
So before we get started, we want to do a land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that the U of M, Twin Cities, is built within the traditional homelands of the Dakota people. It is important to acknowledge the peoples on whose land we live, learn, and work as we seek to improve and strengthen our relations with our tribal nations. We also acknowledge that words are not enough. We must ensure that our institution provides support, resources, and programs that increase access to all aspects of higher education for our American Indian students, staff, faculty, and community members.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it off to Marlina to do our next thing. Feel free to continue chewing. It's all good. It's all good.
Perfect timing. I'm chewing first. Well, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Marlina Gonzalez. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I had the honor to work with three amazing students who are very creative, very engaged, and very brave in addressing some really hot topics on Black and Asian American relations. We had the honor in the first part of the semester to be visited 3 times by one of our guest artists, David Bullard, aka Orko Elohim, who's a hip hop Afrofuturist artist and sound designer. And one of the things that David did was the objective was to try to find our voices. And so students wrote an essay that compared the Jim Crow laws with the Chinese Exclusionary Act. And then David responded to their voices and their essays with a sound design and overlaid and put kind of a musical scoring to the essays that everybody wrote. So we'll find a way to like replay the music because this is one of the activities that we did in the class. I also wanted to, hold on a second. I gotta grab this other thing. Oh, right here. And I know I'm talking more than I was supposed to. But here comes another guest of ours. Come on in, Marsha and Aniki. We're just getting started. And everybody else, come on in. There's name tags at the front and there's food in the back and there's seats or you can stand. So just to give our extra guests more time to get settled, I just wanted to mention, so the class is Black and Asian American Perspectives. This is the second semester that we've offered it. It's very interactive. It's very prototype-like, and it's what I call created through equity design community thinking, which means that the class may have its own syllabus and its own course description, but it's not until I meet the students that we actually decide what we're going to do together. And so it was very responsive and mutually interactive in creating that. We surveyed historical, contemporary, and current events from a conceptual perspective. We did a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and all that good stuff. So what you're going to see today is some of the responses based on the interactions that we had in class. The students have planned some participatory activities that will help us kind of think through the issues that we talked about through this entire class. It's not going to be a class, don't worry. I'm just talking like a teacher right now, buying some time. But we have some guests in our midst, and the first guest that we have is DJ Kool Akiem, who's sitting right here with his beautiful son, King Rasan. And I want to, can we invite you over to the front seat so we can, and you can bring your food. Do we have the video for Akiem? All right, so let's see a little snippet of what Akiem does in his work, and then we'll have a conversation and talk to him. You want to do full screen?
I could break your neck right now if I wanted to.
So that was a trailer for a play in 2 parts. The first part was produced several years ago, and the second part will be happening. What month is the production, Akiem? July. So it's coming in July, and it will be produced by Theater Moo. And the story was written, and the play was written by Semukta Vangsai Dongsai, who's a Lao American playwright and artist for Theater Moo. Her soulmate and partner in crime and is here with us, DJ Kool Akiem, who is creating the sound for the play. And so we have the opportunity to listen in on how the personal and the professional lives of a biracial couple and a biracial family feeds into the kinds of questions that we have to face in talking about Black and Asian American perspectives. So can we ask you over here to the front so that you're in front of the camera? So we've got Akiem's bio on the screen. He's done a lot of work around the Twin Cities. Akiem has been referred to as a pioneer in hip hop. Is a music producer, has worked with amazing artists, not just around the Twin Cities, but in different parts of the country. So
a little bit closer.
he asked us to ask him questions because that would be an easier way to kind of like pull out
Like
the soul of
that,
Akiem
closer.
at this very moment.
that.
So
Wait,
I guess my first question is going to be really tried and hackneyed.
Four.
How did you and Lux meet, and how did you end up collaborating? Did you meet first as individual artists, or did you meet first as individuals? Putting you on the spot there.
Okay, so I met Lux in 2005, I think. I was on a tour with Atmosphere, and she came to the show, and that's when we met and just stayed in contact. I was actually living in Atlanta at the time, but I'm from Minnesota. Well, I'm from California now. So, and moved to Atlanta and also lived in New York. So this was also a home to me, but I was actually living in Atlanta. So when I came back up here, we started going out. And we don't collaborate a lot on artistic stuff because, you know, sometimes that can be problems in a relationship. You know, it just can be, right? Some people can do it. I don't think we can do it all that well. So what we're doing is not necessarily collaboration. I'm just happen to be doing the soundtrack and the sound design for a play she wrote. So there's a little bit of collaboration.
Did you do the music and the scoring for the first one too?
Yeah, so this piece was like I did the last part. The other part was the editor put a front piece on, but the music is something I did, and that's like from 10 years back from the first one. So I'm reworking on all the music now as I have time.
So the play, just so you know, like how many people are actually familiar with the first play? How many people actually saw one? There's me too. Anybody else? So the first production of Theater Moo, which was actually presented, I think, at the Southern Theater, and now this second, the sequel, is really, you know, it's a really intriguing title. What's the complete title? Because I always...
It's Kung Fu Zombies vs. Cannibals. And the new version is called, it's the same play with another part added on. So it's called Kung Fu Zombies versus Cannibals. And then the second part is Kung Fu Zombies versus Shaman Warrior.
And what's it about, and how do you interact with the play?
So it's I think this is supposed to go this way. It's a play set in the near future, partly in Minnesota and partly in Laos, where zombies have attacked the earth, and it's the journey of Sika, who is trying to make it to Laos from Minnesota to bury her parents' ashes. So it's a dystopian universe.
And Mux's style is is also the co-founder of FAWK. How many of you have heard FAWK, F-A-W-K? It's Funny Asian Women Collective. So it's a group of really raunchy, crazy ass Asian American women breaking every single stereotype you can ever think of that has ever been conceived for Asian Americans. And the play itself uses kind of sci-fi, kind of very similar to like what Octavia, oh my God, I'm blanking out on her last name. Oh, thank you. Octavia Butler's sci-fi, where she talks about slavery, but from a sci-fi perspective. Mox's play uses that kind of creative approach. So it's about the refugee experience, it's about the Vietnam War, it's about being a Lao American in the US, but in a very intriguing, creative way. Does Laichia, Elizabeth, or Mansee have questions for Joaquin?
Your marriage with your wife, were there ever any challenges that you faced,
Daddy,
with
where?
the differences in culture, and how did you work around that?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about
Daddy,
solidarity
what's play?
in this workshop.
The next four.
Well, she's Lao, and I'm American or Black American. We haven't had a lot because I don't think either of us are very strongly connected to either one of those cultures per se. I don't have a problem going to the Lao Buddhist temple, for example, or participating in any of the cultural events. I can just say that sometimes I don't have a large family, she does. So a lot of times we're doing family stuff that sometimes I'd rather be at home.
We're videotaping, you know.
Well, she knows. She knows this. And
Oh no!
sometimes, you know, when I'm with her family, I don't speak loud, and it may be pretty difficult for me to learn. So sometimes I'm not always participating in the discussion, but I'm a quiet person anyway. I might not have, even if they spoke English. But I don't know. Is that good? Yeah, I can't really think of a lot. Well, okay, so food. I'm actually okay with
Daddy,
Lao food.
I win.
Oh, you won. With especially the Lao or Thai food. Okay, everyone knows Thai food. Lao food is different, and it's a little bit harder for me to eat Lao food. But I also have a different kind of diet anyway. So I don't, like right now, I'm doing like a keto diet. Sometimes I'm vegetarian. So there's that aspect. I don't know if that counts as a cultural difference. Also, she may eat more McDonald's than me. I don't really like it as much. But so, yeah.
Questions, Elizabeth or Laichia?
Yeah, don't let her watch this.
What?
Don't let her watch it.
Oh. Well, you have to bribe me. No, I'm kidding.
Alright, so I just wanted to ask more about your work and what
Okay.
you do with the sound servicing. I want to ask you, what is your favorite part about doing this kind of work, and what is the most rewarding part working with these different kind of stages?
Okay. So you said fair part?
Favorite part.
Oh, favorite part.
Industry.
Daddy,
Yes.
is that 20?
Yeah, it is. Is it 20?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 12.
So my favorite part, that's kind of difficult because I started DJing in 1988.
Let's see.
I win.
I started DJing publicly in 1988. I got my first turntables before that. So I DJ. I don't DJ in clubs and stuff anymore, but I still DJ, and I'm a teaching artist, so I teach. And I do music production, which is, making beats. And I started making sample-based music, hip-hop music. So my favorite part, I don't know. My favorite part, well, that's the thing, is I've had favorite parts all through my career. Right now, I'm really interested in the science of audio and sound. I'm working on building a recording studio. I don't like to actually tell people that. I just told everybody, but
You just did on camera.
the reason why is it's a couple years out before anyone will see it. It's not like a home recording studio; it's a professional recording studio. And I used to like performing. I stopped liking performing just when it was. Well, I'll just say a friend of mine who was MF Doom, who I performed with, was the last times I was really going on tour. He passed away a couple years back, and that was probably the pinnacle of my performance. I still DJ events or whatever, but that's not the same as being on a stage, being on First Avenue, being on, all sorts of stages across the country. I'll just say that I've tried to calculate it. I've done over 2,000 performances in my career and have never missed any. Except I did miss once. There was a car accident, but it was none due to me. So, yeah, Doom used to cancel stuff, but I didn't. He still paid me for it.
As we are talking about solidarity, and since you are huge about hip hop, do you think can we have solidarity through music and specifically through hip hop? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it's not only possible. I think that the culture was designed for solidarity between different people, purposefully. So there's a difference between culture and the music or the son, please. There's a difference between the corporate structure and that's changing now, but through the 90s and 2000s, there was a corporate structure that had a lot of control over the culture, but there was a subculture underneath, or hip hop can be considered a subculture, which is different from what people see when they first encounter it through the media. And the subculture was specifically designed. There's a lot of arguments about that right now. We can talk a little bit about that, but it was specifically designed to be multicultural by some of the founders. There's some arguments about who the founders are right now, and was that intent a valid intent, because it's also part of Black culture. So you have these two ideas that have coexisted pretty well for a long time, that it is Black culture, but it's also open to other people to join into and have as it was being built. So hip hop definitely was designed that way, and it may be one of the only cultures that was organically, designed that way. It was a subculture. It wasn't a top-down from the government culture. It wasn't through the leadership of it wasn't a king that said we're going to build this culture together. It was an organic subculture from the Bronx that was meant to be open to everyone. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I once heard like the terrorist once say that if you look around at Martin Luther King, like hip hop is the only place where it's really actively prevalent.
I think I heard him say that.
It could be. I mean, there's a lot of contradictions, but as
yeah.
like seeing it, like I've really seen it really inclusive. Through like traveling around the world, and I've heard hip hop being done from so many different cultural standpoints, which is pretty cool.
Right. That it can work within different cultural contexts and so forth. So I think he was maybe right. I disagree. When he gets brought up, I disagree with a lot of stuff that KRS says. So I was wondering where you were going to go with that. But yeah, so I think that's true. I think that's true in a way. Because you can go to almost any country and there will be some sort of a hip hop scene there. I think this was something I said a long time ago in an interview that hip hop is the first or will be the first worldwide culture, in that it's different than say English speaking, which is or the second or first biggest language is second, right? I think Mandarin is the most spoke language. Farsi?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So there's these empires that are built. This is something where culture moves around the world by itself without the empire building, without the countries invading other countries or so forth. That's the way that culture was normally transmitted, right? This is different. It's transmitted through music and the different parts of hip hop through a media, right? Instead of through a government or through however else culture has been disseminated around the world. Now, it's with movement of people. This is a little bit different. It's a movement of ideas and a way of doing things that is spread around the world. So is it going to be the first worldwide culture? I don't know. But there's things that come out of hip hop that we don't even realize are influencing the entire planet. Sometimes they're just words and sometimes they're ideas. So, yeah.
One more question from the audience? If there's another question for Akiem. All right. Well, thanks, Akiem, and thanks, Prasan.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, so it's really interesting what you say about hip hop being the example of the realization of MLK's dream. And I think it also speaks to the idea in what we've discussed in the class too, where like music has been part of the arena where solidarity can happen, but also where political statements happen. If you think of Black music or African American music, one of the things we talked about is the origin of bebop. Does anybody know what bebop actually means or how it started? I know you do, David. I want to know if anybody else does. I know my students do. Anyone? Oh, move to the center. So the origins of bebop has to do with police brutality, because the phrase bebop is actually based on the rhythm of the bop, bop, bopping of a police baton hitting Black bodies. And bebop is a form of music, is that part of jazz, or it is a form of jazz, but we don't know these details, right? We don't know that about each other. We just think of it as music. We think of hip hop as music, but if part of the invitation for thinking about solidarity together is like, let's look with microscopic perspectives and figure out where all this started, because that's the only way we can get to know each other. And music is certainly one of them. Another way that that solidarity or coming together can happen is through entrepreneurship and creativity. And so we have another pair of special guests tonight who has a different, unique way of bringing people together. I'm talking about Marsha Allen, who's sitting here with a baseball cap, and her son, Aniki Allen, who's deciding whether he should eat chips or fruit. And if I can invite both of you up to the front, and while they're setting up, I want to kind of mention something that's a connection between Akiem and Marsha in a very indirect way. So David Bullard, aka Elohim, Akiem, and myself were part of a program last year through Twin Cities Media Alliance called Our Spaces Spoken For, where we had to collaborate with artists who we've not collaborated before. And we were to interview people from the community and create a performance around the stories, the community stories that we were shared. Akiem partnered with another artist, Josh. What's Josh's last name? We call him Ashe. So Josh and Ashe, Josh and Akiem, and Josh is also a hip hop artist, had the opportunity and the honor to listen to the story of an amazing woman in the community named Princess Haley. Princess is an African-American mother who has experienced one of the worst experiences you could ever think of as a parent, that her son was killed by cops. So she deals with that trauma, but she's also a teacher. And Akiem and his partner artist Josh, aka Ashe, created a performative piece around Prince's story. Through this class, I learned that Princess has actually been collaborating, has a longtime friendship and collaboration with an amazing Hmong American partner and entrepreneur by the name of Marsha Allen. And so because of our collaboration, the bridge was built between Akiem, David, myself, and Princess, and led to Marsha Allen. And Marsha then introduced us to her amazing son, Aniki Allen. And so they're going to talk about what they do and how they also navigate and kind of traverse this bicultural cosmos that we really live in. And I will just hand over the mic to them. Oh, can we play this video first as an introduction? So let's take a peek at this little newscast about a little background about Aniki.
But there's something a little different about these entrepreneurs. They're all kids. St. Paul Brewing hosted this pop-up fair for nearly 24 young entrepreneurs. They sold everything from artwork and food to clothing and accessories.
It's actually amazing. It's like, I always wonder, like, what if kids actually like have their own business and work together? It's crazy.
I thought I really wanted to make something that kids could play with. You can stretch it, you can play with it, you can do almost anything with it.
In all, there were 22 businesses owned by kids at today's fair. Oh, great. Still ahead, Allianz Field has changed the neighborhood around.
Okay. Great. Why are you shaking your head? That's amazing.
I was like 12, 13.
Yeah, probably like like 3 years ago. Yeah, like 3 years ago.
I was just surprised how young I was.
But you started doing your little business at 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh. So tell us how that all happened. And I know your mom has been very supportive too. And Marsha, you do these pop-up support for pop-up businesses too for BIPOC entrepreneurs who don't have the resources to actually have a storefront. And you're a very interesting parent, okay, because you had a very creative way of addressing the challenges that you're faced as people in BIPOC businesses, as well as challenges for young people wanting to go into business. So
You want to share them how you got started?
Oh yeah. So I got started. Man, my mom really, she always liked to dress me like in suits or she just wanted me to look nice. So I had an idea with her one night. I was just building with my Legos as I usually do. And found this piece right there. I don't know if y'all can see it. It's like in the back. And when I found it, I was like, just came up. I don't even know. I think it was just a blessing, really, because I didn't even really think about it. I just made it. And talking to her, she said, it kind of looked like a bow tie. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't mean that to be a bow tie in the first place?
No, I was just building. And she's posted on Facebook and people's like, you should make a business. When is it going to be something? And I talked to her. She said, let's do it, because we really wanted to make an ice cream business, but ice cream cost, the sweep, even the spill, it was just a lot of work. And we didn't want to do that at the time. So we just decided to make a clothing brand and something that's more reliable and easier to produce and sell to kids and adults. I feel like.
Oh, that's where the name ice cream bow ties came from.
Because it got different flavors and yeah.
Interesting. So Mom, how did you get started this business?
I don't want to get too emotional, but this is so beautiful to see everybody in here, honestly. I hate when I get like this, but you guys can certainly be anywhere, but you're here. I'm supposed to be at the governor's mansion right now, marching for police brutality, but thank you for inviting us, and I hate when I get like this because my son doesn't like it, but my name is Marsha Allen, and I'm a Hmong woman, and I identify as a Hmong woman first, right? And I think you asked about how his marriage was, solidarity, and it was really tough, right? It was really tough growing up to have a Black husband and the solidarity, and I was like one of the first in my family, and it just brings up a lot of trauma, but this is so beautiful to be in front with everyone here, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm so sorry, but I just really wanted my son to have something to call his own, because being a Black man in America is really tough, right? And growing up in La Crosse, my parents were farmers, my parents were entrepreneurs and farmers, and I had the opportunity to experience entrepreneurship at a very young age, and I wanted my son to, thank you, I wanted my son to really just be able to have something that was created by him and for who he really was. And so as an only child, the only activity that I would be able to get him to sit still were Legos. And that's how his Lego bow tie started. And what he's wearing is his Hmong collection. And so these bow ties that we have here are actually from Laos. We have a team of artisans that we work directly with in Laos who we've never met or never been back there. And we design and, they're here. And so it means a lot. And he's Aniki in 2019, during the video that they showed, he had received a mayoral proclamation from Mayor Carter in St. Paul. for Youngpreneur Day in September. And so really our mission now is to, how can we bridge and how can we solve problems through young entrepreneurship, right? You guys all really know that our communities, like when it comes down to disparities, affect us heavily, right? And so we wanted to create a space for young people to learn like financials, to really create something for their own selves.
Any questions for Aniki or Marsha? I have to say that, first of all, I wish Princess was here.
Yeah.
Because last year, Princess and Marsha actually spoke to our class. And it was an amazing conversation between the two of them, like two powerhouse women talking about the collaboration. So I am curious, can you talk a little bit about, like, the two of you talk about your friendship and your ongoing, relationship with Princess Haley
and her daughter Princess. Yeah, I can speak on that. We were actually, Aniki started his business, Ice Cream Bow Ties, in 2016, and we were hosting a fashion show. And so during that time, one of his mentor had invited Princess and her youth from Appetite for Change, which is an amazing nonprofit organization around food insecurities over North Minneapolis, and they came and performed. And we just kind of been friends ever since. And so Princess and I do share, we talk. I just actually spoke with her on her way, and she's like, send them. I just can't be there because she's super busy, but just an amazing woman. Like, I think, one thing about Princess is she's super open-minded, like she will tell you, like, I'm Asian as well. Like, I eat what you eat. And I think one of the things that really connected us is really the love for being just human and the love for our food, right? And so we're collaborating on different projects and stuff like that. But like, I think at the end of the day, like when we kind of peel beneath how we look like as humans, like we all really want the same things. Like we want, great education, good paying jobs, like everything. And so I think, our fight together is stronger together versus alone.
Aniki, do you want to add to your mom's story?
I think she said it beautifully.
What do you have to say about, what she's talking about in terms of the challenges between our two communities? Like, how do you, from a youth perspective, how do you think we can work more towards solidarity, or is it possible through your generation? What do you think?
Well, that's a hard topic, but
do you think that black and Asians can bridge, can work together? Like, do you think that we can work together and be successful?
I feel like we can if we really just not look at each other differently from each other, or where we come from, or our backgrounds. I feel like we can really work together and change things through music, through fashion, through life in general. If we just really look at each other and say, hey, you, or hey, friend, let's build something. Let's change this whole world and let's make something from nothing, or let's just change the next person, because it's all about changing the next person you meet so they can better somebody else, I feel like. And I feel like love is the most important thing as humans that everybody needs, from adults to younger generation, because I feel like love, a lot of people either don't get it or feel like they don't have it. And I feel like everybody needs love, and that's what humans and people, or I don't know, birds, air, can really change things. It's love and peace and understanding somebody, not from the way they look, but who they truly is and how they truly feel.
It's beautiful.
Wow, I can't top that. I mean, oh, is this mic off?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I think what we really want to do is like, can we just not make this so complicated?
Yeah.
What Aniki is saying is like, can be pretty simple. Can be as simple as like creating Lego bow ties and meeting people, or playing around with the concept of cross-cultural experiences and reflecting on the Vietnam War by using kung fu and humor. It's whatever we want it to be, but it's the intent that will really propel us to keep going. So thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Aniki. And we can either keep this here and we can, and by the way, these are for sale, although we're not selling them today, but these are for sale. FYI, you can go to their website, you can purchase your own like Peng Dao bow tie or Lego bow ties, and he's got other. I think he also create bow ties for orders, right? Like
Yes, ma'am.
Custom built, like the wooden bow ties that are on the table. So thank you so much for giving us the example of other ways that we can kind of bridge our differences.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes. So I'm going to pass on the mic now to who? Who's yourself? To myself. David, since you haven't had a chance to really talk about what you did, can you like just briefly talk about like what you thought about this class and some of the stuff that we talked about?
I feel that this AAS class is a very necessary and poignant step. What you said, what does solidarity look like? To me, it's a tough conversation that needs to be had. It's conversation, community, and action. Us as people, we talk about what we want to do. We get riled up when events happen. And sometimes we really need to stay the course. We have to look at the leaders that have courageously stood up in our present and in our past. And although life goes on, we have to stay the course. There's these ebbs and flows that happen with situations all over the world. And somehow we have to remind ourselves before we go on. I know that we're constantly bombarded by different events, but we can't allow that to shift the narrative to where things get so intense that we just want to ignore it. That's something hard that we've dealt with a long time. So, but being invited to be a part of this class, it really means a lot to me. I grew up in one of the most diverse communities in the world. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's a place called City Heights in San Diego. It's over 200 cultures there in a small block radius inside City Heights in San Diego. And it's kind of where we grew up together. We're forced to have each other's back, put in a situation to where in San Diego, there's although there's racism all over the country, in California, there's a lot of classism. So when you cut it like that, then there's a lot of people that live south of the 8 freeway, and that's still that same color line that runs all the way across America from Florida all the way to California. It's train tracks, color line, it's still there. So when you deal with that level of classism, it's a gift and it's a curse because, well, it's easier for a lot of people to understand that they're in the same position, So having hip hop and having that as outreach, and that really allowed me to really grow personally inside of my life, coming into the class, like we did it the first year, I was so happy and proud of myself, when I went back home, talked to my family, told them all about it. They were very interested in it. A lot of people don't be closed off with your family. Talk to your family about the things that you do. Every victory should be celebrated, I feel. The perspectives that from the Asian Exclusion Act and the Jim Crow laws, that's something that really really resonates with me, because those are things that are America doesn't really look at. They don't look at it. They're really focused on static culture or dynamic culture as far as the Black and white issues, and not seeing how America has grown into the situation that we're in now. So really listening to the essays, and when I was building sound design around it, I just really wanted to I was really being present of mind, listening to it, giving the words room to breathe. And it's wild that when you listen to it by itself, and then when you listen to it with the sounds underneath it, it gives it that oomph to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lauryn Hill has a line like that, at an MF, so the ignorant ends feel me, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a way that it gives it that movement, and it sets it, those monologue and those pieces, it brings us into that current movement. I remember, so when we're protesting and when we're doing it, there's a beat of the city, there's a beat, the beat of the cars going by, people playing music, even when the speakers are speaking, or we're at an event or a rally. And that type of live energy environment is something that I really wanted to bring into these pieces. I'm so happy I did. I told my co-workers today, they were very interested in it. You know what I mean? Like, I like to share what I'm doing. There's been, I would say, a lot of parts, a large part of my life, I felt like maybe people weren't really interested in what I was doing, or people felt like, maybe the things that I was doing was creating social change, but it wasn't like a bottom line, is it making money? A lot of my peoples come from hard workers. So creative expression isn't something that they looked at as something. They weren't even looking at the ability to change what's going on around me, but more of taking care of myself. So kind of like started shutting myself down, like internalizing that the wrong way, when I should have just shared more. So I would say for the last 5 years, I've been really sharing a lot that I do with my family, with my community, being less nonchalant about the things that I do in my community and what effect it has on other people, because it does have a weight. And just I'm really happy that I could contribute.
Well, thank you for being part of the class. I'm going to put you on the spot, and then we're going to move on to a different part of the program. So David and I collaborated. It was the first time we collaborated, first time we met.
Yeah.
I'm a writer, so I depend on cues and knowing when to come in and not come in. He's a freestyler, and he does not want cues.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, because it was a very challenging situation in the very beginning. Like, what was that like working with me?
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? being in creative, when you're in a collaboration, there's there's growth that comes out of uncomfortability. That I feel like that's when real growth and real challenge happens. So I was like really happy, and just like how we're talking now, communication. When we finally being communicated, I feel like we were just really caught up in being really too nice. We're really good, nice people, and then we broke it open. Broke the pill away or the Band-Aid away, and it really got interesting. And that's another thing too that's really important, that like we're going to have tough conversations. It's not going to always be like kumbaya. It's going to be really rough, and that's how when you communicate with people, first 5-10 minutes, really small conversations, an hour. Once you get in past that half an hour, then you start really getting into the real topics. That's when, the chit chat is over. It's time to put in the work. So I was really happy. And seeing the movie, it's going to be out pretty soon. Our part had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I believe when you guys see the movie that you're going to all 4 pieces just really come off the screen, and I'm so happy to be a part of that. And even if that was the catalyst for so much in our relationship, like, whoa, I never thought that I was going to be getting that out of that one situation. So like blessings to that. And thank you for like allowing me to be a part of the things that you're doing in the community moving forward too. I really honor that. Thank you very much.
So formal. Back at you, David.
Yeah, that's my parents, they put it in me.
Well, one thing that you mentioned is actually something that our community storyteller, whom we created a performance for, said, and it was integrated into our performance. Davida Kilgore was the person that we interviewed to create a story about her story. She's an African-American disabled woman who is also a writer who has gone through a lot and didn't even know that George Floyd was killed on the day that she entered a classroom for her poetry class. But when we all got together and kind of discussed, like, what is it that we're really trying to do? And I remember Dee saying, what we really need is to have these knockout, drag down, honest conversation where like we don't have to be afraid what we think of each other, but we do that in a safe space.
That's right.
We don't kill each other. We don't walk away from each other. We don't scream at each other. We stick with it. And that's the difficult part of it that you were saying. We need to have those difficult conversations. And so this class is an invitation to have those difficult conversations.
That's right.
And so tonight, you're going to have a little rehearsal. So Elizabeth, Laichia, and Mansee are going to have some activities for everybody to be part of. And so I'm going to pass it on to them and take over the rest of the evening. And thank you so much again, David.
All right, everyone. So I know it's been a good hour or so of really listening. And so I want us to, let's all stand up. And let's take a big stretch because I know my body is feeling it. I'm sitting down for a little bit. All right, let's touch the ceiling. All right. Let's touch the ceiling. All right, now let's go down to the floor if you can. Do what you can. All right. Take care of yourself. Move your arms, move your legs. Do what you need to do. And let's also take a collective breath, okay? And so I'm really glad that everyone here is in space. And so, are you ready? Let's breathe in. Let's breathe out. amazing. Thank you so much. And so